What's up, PricePlow Nation, and welcome to the first episode of Talk of the Town. I'm your co-host of PricePlow, Ben Kane, and I'm going to be breaking down the Talk of the Town for you guys.
Welcome to PricePlow.
Now, over the last couple weeks, Mark Bell's Powercast channel has been releasing a series called Sarmageddon, where their producer of content is actually starting a whole SARM cycle prescribed by Dr. Tony Huge. He's breaking down all of the effects it's having on him. He's breaking down all of his diet, training, and progress. And he's reporting back if it's better, worse, or as expected for side effects as compared to steroids, or what the stigma is around SARMs. So, I'm going to be breaking down the things that I like about it, the things I don't like about it, and my final opinion on the whole matter. Now, before we jump in, I want to address the fact that Mark Bell and his team, including Andrew, the producer of content that is the subject of the whole series, do more for the sport than I will ever do, most of us will ever do. They're doing this for information purposes so everyone can see what happens when you take these products, and they're being transparent and honest about the effects, the results that are coming from it, and they're putting honesty out there for everyone. And I think that everything that's being done is being done for the betterment of the industry in their hearts. That's really what they feel that they're doing. They're not doing it to make profit, although they do monetize their YouTube account, obviously. So there are some people that do stand to gain some profits from it, but as a whole, Andrew seems like a guy who's curious and has the platform and talent to put this stuff out for the consumer to understand. Things that I like is where I want to start. I want to explain that I have a lot of things that I enjoy, appreciate, and respect about this series before mentioning anything that I might disagree with the series. So instead of leading with negativity, I really want to talk about the positives, which, to be honest with you, are probably on 90% of my feelings on the topic after really thinking about it. First off, transparency. Everything is being tracked. Diet, supplements, training, everything is there. He even did blood work, which I'm going to talk about in another subject, but the blood work is even hosted publicly for you to look at if you're curious. Everything from how he's achieving his goals, his progress, down to whether or not it's really working is being put out there for the consumer to watch. The other thing I like about this, number two, is the focus on health. He sat down with Tony Huge, I think in episode 2, went over his blood work, talked about all the things he needs to take to support himself, including testosterone boosters, talked about possible side effects, how to mitigate those if they come up. All of that stuff is being considered, explained, and understood by Andrew, and I really appreciate that, because far too often right now people are jumping into these performance-enhancing drugs and not considering their health as a whole. The third thing I really respect about this is that Andrew is doing this with a large crew of people around him who know what they're doing. They're intelligent, they're experienced, and most of them are really the best at what they do. Mark Bell, Tony Huge, Stan Efferding for the vertical diet that he's following, and Ed Cohn are all involved, and I have to really respect the fact that Andrew called upon all of these people. Mark Bell is, as I understand, is helping with his training. He's around him for his training. Tony Huge basically prescribed, for lack of a better term, the cycle support, all of the things that are working together synergistically to get him his progress. Stan Efferding is working with him closely with the vertical diet, and I don't know how involved he is, but Ed Cohn was in the first episode in a phone call where he basically looked at Andrew's training and said, you know what, you're good to go. So the fact that he is doing it not under a doctor's supervision, but under the supervision of people who have done this at a high level for a lot of time and have shown understanding of at least the side effects around performance-enhancing drugs and how to mitigate them and how to progress and reach your goals, I have to respect. Lastly, the thing that I really like is that Andrew has gone into this looking to understand the expectations he has around the cycle. He asked Tony, how much is he going to grow? At what rate is that compared to naturally? How much stronger is he going to get? How is this going to affect him cognitively, energy-wise, libido-wise? in the gym? Is he going to be more confident? How are these all going to affect him? He brought up gynecomastia, which is a huge concern when it comes to performance-enhancing drugs. He seems like a curious person, which it reminds me a lot of Bigger, Stronger, Faster, when Chris Bell, who's Mark's brother and actually is in, I think, episode 3, wanted to understand not how or when or what, but why when it comes to this whole thing. He really just broke down every single part of the subject, and for me, this so far up to episode 5, it's been broken down extremely well, and at no point have I felt like something was missed or he was doing something wrong, unethically, or pushing for some sort of profit in some way. So as a whole, I really like the way that he's doing a lot of all of the content. He hasn't really gotten into the cycle too far yet. He's only 1 week in as of where the episodes are. But the preparation and the full understanding that he has searched for, I'm happy with. And I have to say that I feel like I can publish this video saying that it's a great asset to someone who is considering using these. Now, the two things that I don't like are going to be one, that is purely my opinion, and I think a lot of people are going to agree with me, but looking at the comments, it is a pretty obvious thing and pretty big in the industry that this would come up. And the other one is something that actually Andrew even puts into the video, but I have to bring it up because it's a strong concern for me. First, in my opinion, I don't think that Andrew is ready to look at performance-enhancing drugs as a solution for his goals. Andrew says that he's been training for a considerable amount of time. He says that he could eat anything and he wouldn't gain weight. He says a lot of things that are normal lines that I hear from someone who just is not eating enough and training hard enough. And Andrew, I want you to know this is not a dig at you. This is not really anything personal, because I'm going to say this. I was in your same place. When I was in college, I was 180 pounds as well. I felt like I couldn't gain weight. I couldn't do anything, so I went to a nutrition store. I complained to the massive man behind the counter, and he sold me on what I now know is a pro-hormone, but at the time we didn't know that these things were as dangerous as they are. I took that. I gained a bunch of muscle. I got a lot stronger, and eventually I was urinating brown, and I knew that it was not good for me. I was not taking any cycle support that you guys were looking at. I didn't even know that what I was taking was hormonal by nature. So for those kinds of reasons, I don't think that Anthony has reached the point in his lifting career where he needs to be looking at a solution as strong as performance-enhancing drugs. That's not to say that this won't work for him. I think that he's going to have great benefits from it if he is training as hard as he says he is, if he is dieting the way that Stan will want him to, if he's recovering the way that he needs to grow. He's going to have awesome results. I just personally would like to see athletes milk their natural time as long as possible before they consider furthering it through performance-enhancing drugs. The second thing I don't like, and the last thing that I don't like, just to be really honest, is something that Andrew says himself, I think, and I think he'll really agree with me, is that the implications of talking about SARMs could be grander than just the positives of showing that it could help. If Andrew comes out and shows, I gained 15 pounds in 6 weeks, and it was all muscle, and my powerlifting total went up 150 pounds, that might be great. The problem with all of this is that since SARMs are not dietary ingredients, they can't be manufactured as one. So if you're buying one from a supplement company, it's not manufactured in a very good manufacturer. And in my opinion, someone who is willing to break the rule on that probably isn't doing their due diligence on all the testing that they should be. So you could be getting something completely different than actually what you think it is. I have to add in here, guys. This is not any kind of dig at Tony Hughes' company. I know that I recognize the bottles of the SARMs that Andrew was using. My only criticism here is that if you're going to say you're using SARMs for a series, I would just like to see testing to show that they actually are that, because I've checked with a lot of industry insiders and professionals, and there is not a lot of evidence to say that if you're getting SARMs inside the continental US, they are actually the SARMs the label says they are. And when you're dealing with drugs like this, you should be testing them always to make sure that that's what they are, just like a real clinical study would do. Or the other side of this is that someone might go out and say, awesome. They actually get their hands on a real SARM, but they don't use any of these cycle supports, and they could actually hurt themselves. So as someone who came up in more of a hardcore side of things, I have just an understanding that if you're going to talk about these performance-enhancing drugs, you're talking about them in private. You're talking about it to people who are actually going to take your advice and use it wisely. So that's why I kind of get a knee-jerk reaction with a lot of these videos or posts on public areas, because I worry about the impressionable young athletes, which is something that Andrew brought up, is what if someone under 25 jumps on this? What if someone under even 21 sees this and says, you know what, I want to be the next Mr. Olympia, I want to be the next Ed Cohn, I need to be using these to reach my goals. They're probably not wrong if they want to get to that level, but they need to understand the risks that come with it, and they need to do everything they can to mitigate those. Now, a lot of the talk about this in the video is actually comparing SARMs to steroids. And I just want to state that while the side effects and benefits of them may be what's being contested, at the end of the day, they are not all that different in that when you are seeking them out and taking them, you are seeking out and taking things that are not regulated, that you don't know what they are, and you are accepting a large amount of risk. That's why at the end of the day, when I speak to people who ask me for my opinion on SARMs, steroids, testosterone boosters, any type of hormonal products, my first answer is, if you have a worry about your testosterone or your hormone balance, go to your doctor and have it tested. That is the easiest answer, because if you really have a deficiency, if you really have a problem, you need to go to your doctor and have it checked out. At that point, they may be able to fix the underlying cause of it, or if they can't do that, they can put you on HRT and monitor you and make sure that you are healthy, you are on the path to a better hormone balance, and make sure that you are taking all the supplemental things to make sure that your cholesterol, your heart, your prostate, everything is staying healthy. And that's the main concern, is that doing all these things while staying healthy is important. You're not going to be a very good athlete if your liver is failing, if your kidney is failing, if your cholesterol is completely shit. So, as a whole, I personally think the things that I don't like about the video are more of the implications of what if, right? If someone sees someone like Andrew, who, is still a skinny guy, jumping on them instead of someone who has progressed, or just seeing, hey, that did a lot for Andrew, I want to do it too. It's just more of an implication. It's more of a what if. All of the things about the series that Andrew's put together, the transparency, focus on health, people surrounding him, the expectations being clear, it's all you could ask for in this kind of series. So I salute you, Andrew. I'm really excited to see what the next couple of weeks bring for you, and I hope that after this video you still want to hop on Skype with me. We can do an interview, talk about what your findings were. I'd love to look at your blood work afterwards and talk about how you felt about the whole cycle, if you think it was beneficial, and if you're going to be using it more afterwards. So if you guys are interested in the talk of the town, if you guys want to see something else, or if you have any comments on what I talked about today, please leave them below. Once again, my name is Ben Kane. I'm the co-host of PricePlow, and thank you so much for watching the first episode of Talk of the Town.
Welcome to PricePlow.